wait. But look at that, race 2 just about to go underway for the finale League of Champions TT Cup. Lights are on, waiting for them to go, and away we go. Even start that we can see there in the bottom right corner of the screen. No one really got caught napping too heavily. So I believe what is going to happen, Andreas really, you can see that in third place. Is he going to try and go potentially all the way around the outside of P2? He can't quite do it at this moment in time. So everyone's still driving through exactly where they need to be. So Max Goff then followed by Edmondson with Rillig in P3. Oh, that's someone as well. They're not entirely sure who that was. Oh my goodness, that was Rob Butler that's just gone off. Not good at all. Unfortunately, Luke Brown as well. He's dropped all the way down. Yeah, not ideal. So Paul Laramie's obviously dropped out, but Rob Butler all the way down in P14, not good at all. But the people that actually did really sort of gain from that, and I've just noticed, is Jack McIntyre in P8, Jordan Brennan P7. Luke Weston's actually decided he wants a bit of piece of the action, so he's actually just got past Jack McIntyre. So I'm not entirely sure. Potentially Jack could have had a bit of a poor exit there. We've got Lewis Brown that's up into P10. He's just got past Dorman. There's so much going on. Bottom right corner of the screen is the battle between Best. Oh, that was Dan Zelos that got pushed out a little bit wide there by Andy Carroll, I believe that was. Yeah, unfortunately Dan Zelos has dropped down into P8, so Jack McIntyre's just got past him, as well as that's Luke Weston. So Weston's already up into P8. A great performance from him so far. Bottom right corner of your screen is the battle going forward, as you can see on the screen at the moment, is Luke Weston just switching to Max Edmondson. On board, going through what's going to happen here. Great camera, you can really see the battles that are going to be closing up, but Goff and Edmondson have just driven away from Andreas Rillig in P3, and that gap is a pretty hefty train going back. So if battles happen, Dave, which again are very not as clean as we had the first race, a little bit of contact there, but even so, the guys are actually still really quite close. All in all, what's Dan Zelos going to do? He's going to try to go up the inside of that. Is going to be... Actually, no, sorry, he was defending from Dorman there. He's still defending from Dorman, but Dorman's still running outside. Is Dorman actually going to make a move going through into... That's actually... sorry, that's Lewis Brown. That's not Dorman. That's my apologies. That was me getting confused. So we've got Weston, Zelos and Brown. All this four-way battle here, but Dorman wanted to have a piece of the action. He wanted to have a move going through into club corner. Couldn't quite do it. Dave... Wow.
Yeah, I just seen a collision there. That's Dan Zelos. Unfortunately, didn't manage to quite keep it out the wall there. That was a slightest tap by Lewis Brown. I looked down to see whether that was maybe Lewis Brown and pushed a pass and just got caught out by the Dan not on it. But I don't think it was, so I'm not quite sure what happened there. But yeah, the big loser out in all of this at the start's been Rob Butler, hasn't it? You know, he looked like he almost clipped the grass going into turn 2 in the right-hander. I don't know whether that was a collision with another car or what, but once you're on that grass going into that tight right, you are just a passenger. There's nothing really you can do to try and slow the car down. Then you hit that massive inside sausage curb, and you know, we saw the effect. It's a bit like a bowling pin. So a really unfortunate first lap there. But yeah, Jack Max 7th place, Jordan Brennan 5th. So you know, this is going to be an interesting battle to watch how that pans out. But yeah, Max Edmondson and Goff in 1st and 2nd. They are both teammates, so they're not going to really want to, you know, battle and hinder themselves too much. They just want to get the head down and go forward, really.
100%. 100% agree with you there, but look at that. So the moment Andy Carroll's splitting up Jack McIntyre and Jordan Brennan, Jack McIntyre obviously wanting to get past Carroll as much as he can, darts to the inside, can't quite make the move stick. As I said, no, he's going to try and give it a go anyway. Can he do it? He tries to go and get almost like he's going to try and do the cut, I can imagine, maybe go a little bit wider, going through into club corner to try and get a look. Exactly what he's done, to actually use a lot more of the curb than Carroll. So he's got the run down all the way. He's actually side by side. Even before he comes out of Chapel, he's already side by side. You can see just on the timing tower, it's just ticked over. So Jack McIntyre in P6, but look at that. That's Andreas Rillig with Robbie Stapleford that are going to have a move. What is going to happen here? So McIntyre at the inside of Carroll, and then Stapleford at the inside of Rillig, going through into both into Stowe. So 2 great moves there, but is Andreas Rillig going to have a bit of a look up the inside? He tries to, but I don't think he can quite manage and match Stapleford on the brakes. But look at that, Jordan Brennan not too close behind. But Jack McIntyre, obviously more important, has got past Carroll. So he's now on the hunt down for for Brennan at this moment in time, but he doesn't really need to do much, although Brennan's going to try and go on the outside, going through into turn 1 on Andreas Rillig. What's going to happen here? Decides against it. He's actually going to try and see if he can get a cutback, potentially going into turn 3. Yeah, actually, to be fair, obviously, Dave, you said you had your whiteboard before the race. I'm guessing, looking at it, that Jack McIntyre can sit behind Brennan for the entire race and he'll still win the overall championship, won't he?
Yeah, he will indeed. You know, his main battle for the championship was actually Rob Butler, and Rob Butler's unfortunately down in 10th place. So that, you know, provisionally, touching wood, and you know, I'm not wanting to do a commentator's curse here, but provisionally, you know, it's looking like Jack McIntyre is sitting with the TT title here. And for the overall League of Champions, he's also doing enough there to you know, secure that. As you see, Robbie Stapleford there getting turned around by, I believe, was that Edmondson, unfortunately. So, you know, Robbie, you know, had a really good start there into the battle. We didn't see what caused that collision, but this has dropped Max Edmondson down the pack. These are battles that realistically they didn't need to happen. This is where drivers, you know, they get involved in these battles and they find themselves dropping down the grid instead of going forward.
Oh no! Oh dear, that was not good at all. That was a move there. I think Brennan just wasn't expecting Andreas really to check up that much going through into Cobbs, and just I think he obviously wanted to try and run the outside and try and almost slingshot round him, but definitely misjudged the width of and the length of his Audi TT there. So a bit of a shame. That was yeah, Andreas Rillig obviously dropping down the order all the way down to P9. Look at Max Goff, 1.6 seconds between Goff and Edmondson. But McIntyre's actually now got ahead of Brennan, which is interesting. Didn't even notice that happen. Obviously, that must have been when the tag happened between Brennan and Rillig. So Jack McIntyre's capitalised on that. Oh, that was, you just saw going out shot just then. That was very lastminute.com there for Jack McIntyre to try and make a move at turn 2, going through into Stowe for P2. Can't quite make the move stick, but he's going to try again. I thought he was going to try again going through into the last complex. But Edmondson just needs to try and defend as much as he can. But the pace that these guys have, and to be honest, we actually looked at the push to passes at the moment. Brennan's got 10, Jack McIntyre's got 13. Again, Jack McIntyre actually managing his push to passes very well in the early stages of the race.
Yeah, he's indeed. You know what? I think he's going to be sitting here going, you know, if Max is going to try and hold us up for much longer here, Jordan Brennan's behind. I'll just use a couple of them push to passes, get the job done. He can't afford to just sit here and wait in between this sandwich, because Max Edmondson's going to be thinking, there's my teammate behind me, I want him through as well. Max Edmondson's not going to make this easy for Jack.
He's not indeed. He's not indeed. Already going through the defensive into, that was turn 5. Ooh. But I think, to be fair, Jack McIntyre has actually got the run. He's used a push to pass. Max Edmondson has not. So I think the move is done and dusted. He even has time to pull into the pit. Max Edmondson is going to have a look back. That was very, very close. That camera angle made it look probably a lot closer than I think it actually was. Still not over yet, though. Jack McIntyre's got to make sure he gets a good run out of Luffield, because otherwise this is going to leave the door straight back through into Max Edmondson. He's actually got a push to pass. Wonder if Jack McIntyre is actually going to use one again. I don't think he is going to. Not one hasn't been activated. Actually, to be fair, you can see Jack McIntyre visibly frustrated at the bottom right corner of your screen there. So obviously Max Edmondson going to try and make the move back into the old turn 1, go through into Cops. He does make the move stick. There's about as much room as you can possibly give. And look at that, Max Edmondson back into P2, defending for back now, going through. Oh, I thought Jordan Brennan's going to have a move going through into Magnus and Beckett's then. Jordan Brennan just biding his time here, isn't he? He's just letting the guys battle up ahead. Although I think now he's actually going to try and get the hammer down and try and make the move past Jack, now that Jack McIntyre potentially is a little bit unsettled.
Yeah, and you know what? I'm looking at Robbie Stapleford. He's back up to 6th place, right on the back of this train, and we've seen what pace Robbie's got from race 1. So, you know, you're looking at Jack. Whatever Jack can do, realistically, Robbie can do just a few positions back. This is going to be a brave move, trying to go around the side. Jordan's going to try and read it. Andy Carroll's up the inside of both of them. Andy Carroll could be the winner out of this. If he now break Jack here into the left-hander, this could be a hell of a move.
It could be indeed. Great aerial shot there from Mike Yarrow on broadcast. Fantastic, giving us some great coverage to work with. But look at that. Oh, there was a lot of changes there, but ultimately I think they all pretty much went to the exact same positions that they were before. Edmondson, McIntyre, Brennan, Carroll, Stapleford. But yeah, the gap is definitely coming down. Look at Stapleford here. Oh, this, don't take the GoPro out there. With Stapleford and Carroll, that was very close indeed, but Stapleford moves back up into P5. He's not going to be wanting to take any, he's not taking any prisoners this race, is he? Luke Weston going back up into P6, a better race than he had, unfortunately, at the moment. A good finishing position here if he can maintain. He's actually fighting with Carroll at the moment, but he's actually potentially, that's going to be, I think, letting Lewis Brown are going to go up the inside of him, going through into turn 4, side by side. You've got to be a little bit careful. You don't want to run too wide going through there, but I think it's still side by side pretty much. No, Lewis Brown decides that he needs to pull back in and see if he can make the move, potentially going through into Brooklands. He's pulled out. Who was going to be last on the late breakers? I think he's going to do it. It's one of those corners that almost don't necessarily, you can't really defend if you want to get a good run going through Luffield. So he has to almost let the position happen and then try and get the cutback. But I think Lewis Brown made a great move going through into Brooklands there and manages to fend off Luke Weston. So he is now into P8. So P6 for Luke Weston for a brief moment. And he's back down to P8. I'm sure there's some more positions happening here. Look at that. That's going to. Oh no, Edmondson has taken. Oh, that was, I mean, a great save there for Jack McIntyre. But wow, that was as close as it probably could ever be. But this has now allowed Robbie Stapleford going to. Look at Stapleford. He's gone from P6 to P2 in one lap. What on earth? It just goes to show that Stapleford, again, like I said, taking absolutely no prisoners, and he's now on the hunt down 6/10 away from Max Goff.
Yeah, that is one determined drive, isn't it? You know, he unfortunately looked like he got a slight tap from Max Edmondson at the start, got knocked down the grid, and through pure determination has got back up through second, just picking his point. I'm actually surprised here that Jack Mack is trying to attack Robbie straight away. You know, he saw what speed Robbie's got in race one. I know Jack will think he's got the pace on him, but at the end of the day, if he can work with Robbie and go forward, they might get on to Max Goff. There's still 9 minutes left of this race. Realistically, Jack doesn't want to be hanging on to this and ending up with, you know, Jordan Brennan and Max Edmondson closing up because he's battling up ahead.
No, this is true. This is true again for Jack Mack. He's played the long game here. You know, you've got 8 minutes and 40 seconds left. I'm sure this is going to be a very long 8 minutes and 40 seconds for Max Goff because he is dropping at the moment. The gap is just under 0.2 of a second. Luke Weston currently on the screen still can't quite find a way past Rob Butler at this moment in time. One of that is how is that going to materialise? But Robbie Stapleford up the inside. We just caught the back end of that move, but Jack McIntyre's going to have a look on the inside again. He doesn't want to be hanging about. He wants to get past Max Goff as soon as he can to try and gap as many positions as he can, as much time as he can from Jordan Brennan. Oh, that was so very close indeed. Careful, God, that was about a car's width that he's left there, but the gap is still closing ever more. What's going to happen here? Oh my goodness, that is about as much room as you can get. Max, unfortunately, the car is not going to disappear. You can only leave a certain amount of room. Luckily, though, both drivers still managed to get going. Bit of that was about as that was a bit teetering on an interesting rejoin to say the least. But no drivers, no massive amounts of contact or anything there. So all drivers do seem to go. Yeah, Dave. Unfortunately, I just think Max Goff was anticipating the car to not be there or expecting it to disappear, which doesn't quite work.
You know what? It was just a case of, we see it all the time. It's just race and driver intimidation, really. You know, you try and squeeze the car to the edge of the track. You're trying to get in the head thinking, you know, I'm not giving you any room here. You've got to make this corner work for yourself. And unfortunately, he just tried to close that door a little bit too much. And fair play to Jack. He held his ground. He was like, no, I'm here. There's nothing you can really do about it. And, you know, when one car comes over, you can't go anywhere. As you said, there's the grass on the left, another car on the right. There's only one guy that's losing out of that, and it's the car that's trying to close the gap. But we've got to point out, Robbie Stapleford here, from I believe, what was that? He dropped down to 8th, is now winning the race in race 2.
I know, great stuff. Absolutely amazing stuff there from Robbie Stapleford. Fair play indeed. That's the man who is on an absolute mission. And I'm sure these last 6 minutes and 40 seconds are going to have to be very, very close indeed. Because, I mean, to be fair, I'm actually looking. So Jack McIntyre obviously in P2. Brennan, he's behind him, 0.4 of a second. I mean, 1 round to go. You've got 6 minutes left. There's only about 3 or 4 laps round here. So this is going to be a very, very close 4 laps. I've actually just seen how close that if you look at the actual gaps between all of the drivers, you've got the sort of the top 5 that are sort of a couple of seconds apart, and then you haven't got too much longer. And then you've got 6th to 10th almost as well that are really, really close. Even 11th there with Andreas Rilling. So look at this trade. This is one of the closest battles. Oh, that's Luke Weston up the inside of, I believe that was Andy Dorman, or potentially he was actually defending. Couldn't quite make out, but Dorman was actually going to try and, he was actually just been told he was defending, so he's managed to defend from Andy Dorman at this moment in time. Can't quite catch up to Lewis Brown at the moment. Andy Carroll is going to try and go on the outside of Edmondson. I think as well, Edmondson last late breakage, you've got to be very, very brave on the brakes. Ooh, look at that, what a cutback from Andy Carroll there. What a cutback. Almost like dummies Max Edmondson to going through really on the defensive and just sends it up the inside and does the cutback. What a move from Andy Carroll going into Luffield. Yeah,
mega move. And you know what? It's a driver that we've seen throughout this whole championship. See Max Edmondson there getting a little bit greedy, taking a little bit too much to the inside, and there is a wall there. So unfortunately, that's what he found there. But yeah, as I was saying, Andy Carroll, it's a driver that honestly I've been watching throughout the, this whole league, he's an ever-increasing, improving driver. I believe he's signed up now for League of Champions too, so he's definitely going to be a returning driver. And you know what? 4th place in race 2, a really good finish in race 1 as well. So Andy Carroll could be a one to watch in League of Champions too.
Absolutely. I said new selection of cars. Obviously new skill set required, but yeah, I mean, to be fair, Andy Carroll's really sort of moved his way up throughout the season, which has been absolutely fantastic to watch. Look at this, it's the battle between Brown and Weston. Who's going to come out on top? We're going to see just on the timing tower. I think Luke Weston's actually got by him, so yes, Luke Weston up into P7, but the battle here is still raging on between Carroll and that is Butler behind, with Goff not too far. So unfortunately Goff leading this race at the start has unfortunately dropped down into P6. Oh, that was something on the inside. That was Andreas really going to go through up to Max Emerson. I think Emerson probably noticing quite a bit of damage after that hefty shunt going through into the old start-finish line, because that was a hefty shunt, probably about 80, 90 miles an hour. So I'm sure he's got some real damage there.
Yeah, I mean, a wall is always going to win over a TT, isn't it, really, at the end of the day? But yeah, I think we'll have to actually point out here, you know, Rob Butler has gone from being dead last to now running in 5th place. So a stellar drive from Rob. You know, that shows it's quite easy to, you know, retire it in the pits after you get spun out in the first lap and you end up dead last. It's really easy to pull in the pits and go, you know what, it's game over. But to be fair, he's held it out. He's now found himself in 5th place. You know, fair play.
Absolutely. We've just been told as well that unfortunately I think Rillig was getting a little bit overzealous, and a bit of door banging there between Rillig and Edmondson. And unfortunately, the person that lost out was Edmondson. So he's back down in P11, so suffered even more damage than what he had originally. Not ideal, but yeah, 3 minutes and 15 seconds left to go. I'm sure that these cannot end soon enough for Max Edmondson. But the battle focusing at this moment in time still, well, currently now we're on Dorman and Brown is the battle here for P8. This is one of the closest battles that we have currently on track. I've just seen further up the field as well. I'm just looking through the timing tower. Like these gaps are really starting to close up for these final 3 minutes of the race. We've probably got, I'm guessing, looking at the timing tower, maybe, I guess we only have 2 laps left. You've got one more when the timer counts down, and whenever the timer counts down, it's +1 after that. So looking at where the timer is at this moment in time, it could very well be only 2 laps left. It's going to be close, so we're going to find out in a minute. But what's going to happen here between Butler and Carroll? Can Carroll hold off Rob Butler going through into Stowe Corner? Rob Butler very, very late on the brakes. Who is going to be last out? I think, to be fair, a move that was well tried by Rob Butler, but Andy Carroll did exactly what he needed to do. Just drifted out wide. I mean, to be fair, he was actually far enough up the inside that he could do. So a little bit of contact there, but nothing major. He does exactly what he needs to do, and he retains his P4 at the moment in time. A great drive for Andy Carroll at the moment, but can he hold off for another potentially, well, for definitely another 2 laps, but is he going to hold off for another 3? I'm not too sure when he actually passed, or when Stapleford passed the finish line. So he may be another 2 laps after this. We're not too sure. We're going to find out in a couple of minutes when the white flag is potentially raised on the next lap. But that is, I think, Max Goff that's got at the inside. Butler drives, of Carroll drives him out really wide at turn 3. I mean, that was probably, I'm sure Carroll's going to be having something to say about that, because he's going to want this position back and exactly retaliates almost immediately going through into turn 4. But this has now allowed Luke Weston to have a bit of a look as well. So potentially, Goff has got to be careful. You might lose 2 positions here.
Yeah, you know what? There wasn't that much racing room left there with, I believe, Max Goff there and Andy Carroll. You know, Andy Carroll ran a little bit wide in turn 1, which unfortunately meant he didn't get the best runs through turn 2, so Rob Butler got straight through there. Yeah, Andy Carroll's probably, you know, got a little bit of anger in here, but if he can harness that, use that as determination to go forward, Max Goff is only just in front of him. This race isn't over for him yet, and a top 5 would be a great finish for Andy Carroll.
Absolutely, 100% top 5 finish would be absolutely fantastic, and hopefully we are going to see that. But like I said, I really don't know. This could very well be. This could be the second to last lap. As soon as we cross as soon as Stapleton crosses the finish line, we will know, because we'll get notified if it is the last lap or not. And it's going to be very close either way. But at this moment in time, Carroll still can't quite find a way. Try and say that a few times in a straight row. That's really difficult to say. Blimey. So Carroll can't find a way past Goff at this moment in time, but he's going to give it another good go into Stowe corner. Is he going to try and get the cutback? Because obviously Goff has now had to take the defensive line. He's going to give it a go. He's going to be on the outside going through into the last few corners. Is he going to be last the late breaks and try and get that move going into Vale? We're going to find out. I think Goff manages to last the late. He's actually braked very, very late indeed. Manages to hold it off. But Carroll really wants this position. He wants P5 back. He is one man, very, very determined. I think we've actually got, this is the last lap there, Dave.
Yeah, I'm so impressed with the standard here. You know, Andy is driving the absolute wheels off this TT to try and get back through. But these drivers have to be careful. You know, all it's going to take is these two to trip over, and look who's behind him. Luke Weston, great finisher. You know, he's definitely going to be hungry for top 5, which would be his best finishing position in the championship. 100%. But all that was, I think, to be fair, Luke Weston, he can hear you, can't he, Dave? Because he wants another position. He wants it to be in an even better position. He wants P6 on the cards. I think there's a few drivers on the grid that need what I'm saying, isn't there?
Exactly. I think actually that is Edmondson that's actually letting all the drivers by go through into Brooklands. But correct me if I'm wrong, Dave, but I think that Jack McIntyre in P2 at the moment, obviously Stapleford, the gap is just under a second. If this is actually the case, then Jack McIntyre will be the overall champion winner for League of Champions, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah,
it will indeed. You know, he didn't really need to do that much to secure it. You know, Jordan was there in second place, but you know, no one wants it. But Jack needed to have a bit of a bad round, and Jordan needed to have an extremely good one. So the fact that there's only one position between them, provisionally makes Jack Mack the League of Champions winner if he can hold on. I don't want a commentator's curse. You've done this before, Dan.
Exactly, yes. I've done this before. I'm not going to do it again, so I'm not going to say anything until both drivers cross the line. But look at that in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. Robbie Stapleford has got 4 more corners to go, and then he will take race to victory as well. Fantastic drive from him indeed. But what's going to happen here? Andy Carroll still wanting to try and make a move down into Stowe corner. Can't quite make the move stick. But is he going to try again? Very much over the curves as much as he can be. And look at that. That's going to be Weston and Brown that are going to have a look as well. But in the bottom of the corner of your screen, Robbie Stapleford takes race to victory. But Jack McIntyre takes the overall championship win for League of Champions. Oh, he's trying to be conservative there, but I'm sure he's a very, very happy man indeed. Very good stuff. And look at that. That is going to be. So Brennan takes third, Butler in fourth, Goff fifth,